Decisions and decision-making are an inevitable part of life, and in today's episode, I want to talk a little bit about some decisions we have here at St. Philip Deacon and also some resources that may help you make decisions in your own life. Stay tuned. Hello, friends. Pastor Tim Westermeyer here, Senior Pastor of St. Philip the Deacon in the western suburbs of Minneapolis. Good to be with you as always. I want to start today with, again, an update on something we've talked a little bit about over the last few weeks or months, namely our open positions, both for our organist and our next pastor, both really important roles here at St. Philip the Deacon. And again, I don't have any concrete or specific news to share with you yet. I hope we will have some news to share very soon. I will tell you, though, this has been a really important week for both of those searches, and we continue to make really good progress on them, and the conversations we've been having with candidates and with sort of what they mean for our future are really, really genuinely exciting. And one of those discussions, again, this was just 2 days ago from this taping. In moments like this, when you're sort of bringing new people into a team potentially and rethinking how you're structured or what your priorities are in terms of programming or how you might do some shifting around, that is both energizing and also a little anxiety producing. And so one of the people around the table, who is a current staff member, sent me a follow-up email just to sort of celebrate the really rich, wonderful, open-ended conversation about how we're thinking about restructuring things related to certain programming here. And here's part of that longer email, which I really liked this. The whole email was great, but I liked this particular paragraph. She said, "It was kind of amazing. I love what God is up to here. I hope that the others are excited too. This feels really big and important and a little scary." And then she went on to say, "Which is a good thing in my mind. The most important things usually are a little scary." And so I've said this before, just said it in my sermon last week, actually, which I'll reference in a minute. I love this congregation. I love what I do as a pastor. St. Philip the Deacon is a really special place, and I know a lot of you watching this love it as well. And so I guess I want to say, as we are dreaming about the future, as we're thinking about, again, bringing on a couple of people in new important roles, who we are is not going to fundamentally change. We're going to remain an authentic, genuine Christian community focused on sharing the gospel, focused on sharing the love of Jesus, focused on being in community with one another, reflecting God's love back out to a hurting world. So that's not going to change. It's an amazing place. I'm sorry, I can't say enough about what a great place this is and how wonderful our staff is and how wonderful the congregation is. But that doesn't mean that we shouldn't be always thinking about how can we be better at those things? How can we evolve? How can we iterate? How can we think about creative programming? And I want everyone listening to this who's connected to St. Philip Deacon just to be as excited and hopeful as I am as we think about that future, rather than being scared about it, if that makes any sense. Because, again, change, one thing is change is inevitable. The only constant is change, isn't that the saying? And I just want us all to be open to whatever God is doing right now, as God continues to keep us the same while changing, if that makes sense. I don't know if that's a thing. I think it is. I'm going to say it is a thing. So related to that, part of this whole process of searching has to do with making decisions, interviewing candidates, discerning, is this the right fit? Is this the right fit? Do this person's skills match, or are this person's skills better? Would this person challenge us in some ways we need to be challenged. All of those things are at play. And at the end, you have to make a decision about how to move forward. And again, I will just tell you, based on where we stand right now, I could not be more excited about the possibilities in front of us. So I'm thinking about that as it relates to my sermon this past weekend. I'm not going to restate it here, but it was specifically directed to our graduates, but it had to do with sort of when we have options in front of us in our lives. That's a good thing, but it is a really challenging thing too, because we only have one life to live, right? We can't duplicate ourselves and try all of those different options. We have to choose among them. And part of my point, or the main point I was making, is we should celebrate that and view that as a gift and a blessing and an opportunity to go deep down one path, recognizing that means saying no to other paths. So bottom line, I'm just saying, if that sounds interesting to you, you can listen to the sermon here. And in that sermon, I talk a little bit about some of my own story and my own discernment moving to ministry. Again, if that's interesting to you, listen to the sermon. And then the final thing I'll say, and I've mentioned this before, but as long as we're sort of talking about decision-making or choosing a path to go down, I will lift up again a wonderful book, The Jesuit Guide to Almost Everything by James Martin. I have referred to it, I'm sure, here before. I have referred to it many times in the past to individuals facing a decision, a crossroads, a path they're choosing to go down. And the book is wonderful in its entirety, but one chapter particularly is worth reviewing on that front. It's chapter 12, and the title is, What Should I Do? And the subhead is The Ignatian Way of Making Decisions. And I would commend that to any of you who are in your own lives sitting with a decision today. Do I go left? Do I go right? Do I turn around and go backwards? Whatever your decision is. And final question, so again, use that as a resource. I don't know if my sermon would be helpful on that front or not. But my final question would be, in your own life, as you have been faced with decisions, as you've been placed at a crossroads and had to decide which path you're going to go down, what kind of tools have you used to make that decision? How have you discerned, I would say, where God is calling you? And if you're willing to share that in the comments below, as always, I know that other people would appreciate your thoughts. So again, as always, it's a joy to be with you. I hope to have more news for you on the two fronts we're talking about here before too long. But until then, be well, stay in touch, and God bless.